Sahib, turn the TV on, please. Bismillah. Can you start from the beginning, please? They take fast.
Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. Tonight on the 4th of Jumaadaa Al-Uulaa in the year 1444, corresponding to the 27th of November 2022, we are in the book Al-Wajeez, the concise presentation of the fiqh, in our 106th class in the chapter of jihad on page 657. When does jihad become an individual obligation?
Number one.
Jihad is not an individual obligation except under the following circumstances. Number one, when the legally responsible person finds himself in the roles of battle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha laqitum fi'atan fathbutu. O you who believe, when you meet an enemy force, take a firm stand against them. Allah also says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha laqitum alladhina kafaru zahfan fala tuwalluhum al-adbar. O you who believe, when you meet those who disbelieve in a battlefield, never turn your backs against them.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So we said when the jihad becomes individual obligation, there is no permission for the parents to be granted. You could do it without the permission of the parents, because here you are, first case is that you are in the line, in the row against the enemies. I'm not going to make a call for my parents to go ahead for this jihad. So straight away you are involved and you had to make the jihad, becomes individual obligation. Number two,
when the enemy invades any land of the Muslim lands.
So when the enemies invade the land, it becomes compulsory upon you without the permission of your parents, because you need to protect your family, your parents, your wife, your children. So straight away it becomes, we call in Arabic, an-nafirul am. The jihad for everybody has to be standing to protect the wealth, the property themselves. Thirdly,
Number three, when the ruler calls for a general enlistment and participation upon those legally capable.
and this is the third case, because the Prophet ﷺ said,
The Prophet ﷺ said, there is no emigration to Medina after the conquering of Mecca. However, there is still jihad and proper intention. If you are all called out to go to jihad, then you should all go out for jihad.
right. So if the leader had appointed you to make the jihad, you must make the jihad. Also, the jihad becomes compulsory upon you, an individual obligation. Is the parents' permission is required? Well, the parents here, they might have sort of seek intercession for, like it happened at the time of the companions, to seek intercession with the ones who was in leadership, to come to say to them, there is no one to look after me except for the son. Please, I plead with you that my son stays with me, not to go for jihad. There's no problem, and that will be taken into consideration. Because the hakim here is taking this mujahid outside. So he's actually telling him to make a jihad outside. So there is safety. So in this case, in the third one, maybe the permission will be sought from the parents. Now,
Prisoners of war.
now we come to the captives. Now,
Disbelievers who are captured are of two types. One type can be made slaves due to their being captured.
and they are.
They are the women and the children.
So women and children automatically become slaves when there's a war. And remember that if the Muslim countries had abided with the convention with the enemies, that is, that the prisoners of wars had to be swapped, they have to be, do you understand? That's something else. But in Islam, to protect the slaves, the captives and the prisoner of wars, they become slaves. This is for protection, for their protection. They become slaves. But they will be looked after. That will kill me.
Too cold, yeah?
Okay, here, inshallah. I think they will prefer to sleep.
These are the women and the children, as the Prophet ﷺ forbade the killing of women and children. The Prophet ﷺ used to distribute such prisoners in the same way that he would distribute wealth.
Okay, right. So he would distribute the wealth of the war booty, and as well he would distribute the slaves that have been taken from the war. Now,
the second type refers to those that do not become slaves due to their being captured. These are the adult males. The Muslim leader had the option of enslaving them, setting them free, or ransoming them for wealth or men, such as Muslim prisoners held by the enemy.
right. So there's three ways of here. The Imam, the one who is the leader, he'd call a choice regarding the men who are adults, they're not children. Either that they will be killed, or they will be slaverized, or they will be set free, either because of, for example, swapping or with money. So the enemy will pay money and they will take them back. Okay. Or swapping one by one. So you've got now how many choices? About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 choices. Choice number 1, killed. Choice number 2, slaverization. Choice number 3, just giving them set free for the sake of Allah. Number 4 is for money. Number 5, 1 for 1. Swapping 1 for 1. 5th. Okay, all of that is to be done according to the maslahah. What is the benefit for the Muslims? The Imam will do it. Allah already said, ما كان
لنبي أن يكون له أسرى حتى يثخن في الأرض.
No.
It is not for a prophet that he should have prisoners of war and free them with ransom until he has made a great slaughter among his enemies in the land.
That took place at the Battle of Badr, you see. The Battle of Badr, the Prophet ﷺ, he had prisoners of war. He had a choice. And when he talked to Umar, he said, Umar, Messenger of Allah, I think they had to be killed because they are criminals, war criminals. Then he sought the opinion of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr said, it will be better to be swapped. They teach 10 men for reading and writing, and they will set them free. Prophet took the opinion of Abu Bakr, but Allah Azza wa Jal, he had championed the opinion of Umar because they were criminals. Now,
the Prophet ﷺ had the men from the tribe of Qurayza killed. He enslaved the men from the tribe of Mustalaq. He freed Abu al-As ibn al-Rabi' and Thumama ibn Athal. He ransomed the prisoners of Badr for money, and he also freed a polytheist from the tribe of Uqayl in exchange for 2 of his companions.
So he showed you an example for each one of those things when you capture men. Remember, women and children, slaverization. But the adult men, so here, for example, regarding the men who had been captured at the siege of Banu Qurayza, the ones who proved to be treacherous at the Battle of the Trench, if you remember, who was the one who ruled for their fate? Anybody like to tell me? Who's the one who ruled? Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Sa'd ibn Mu'adh is the one who said that. Even he had friendship with them, because remember, he was Sa'd ibn Mu'adh in the Medina. And the people of the ones who were Banu Qurayza, Banu Qaniqa, they were the outskirts of the Medina, so he had between them some sort of deals. Yet, because they were proved to play treacherously, he said, I'm not going to be having any sort of leniency regarding this, because they almost made the Muslim to be killed and opened the back of theirs to be exposed to the polytheists from the kuffar of the mushrikeen. So he asked for them to be killed. And we have one of them, he was saved. Remember, was that Ka'b al-Quradi? Ka'b al-Quradi is the one of them who was, he said, they have checked upon him and he happens to be a child. How was the check-in happening, Abdullah? How was the check-in to know that he's an adult? So an adult, he will be killed. Yeah, the check is that circumcision. Is that circumcision one of the adulthood? No. So you could be circumcised on the first day. Huh? Puberty. How do you know it's puberty? That's what I'm asking.
Pubic hair.
So he checked his pubic hair.
Yeah, check.
What are the 3 things by which he could know he's an adult? Pubic hair?
Ejaculation.
Huh?
Ejaculation.
Ejaculate, which, no, what dream?
Yeah.
15. So they can't check the ejaculation because he might say, I did not ejaculate. All of them would say that. They can't check because the 15, there's no birth certificate at that time. And then it has to be what? Pubic hair, the checkup. They've checked up on him. If he's got pubic hair, he will be from the men to be killed. If he's not, so he said, I was from the one who was being saved because I was a child. And as for the Banu al-Mustaliq, this is the Battle of Muraysiyah, in which one of the mothers of the believers was captured. She was not the mother of the believers. Who is that? Who is that woman? She became the wife of the Prophet from the Battle of Banu al-Mustaliq. Married, the wife of the Prophet. Juwayriyah, well done, Khadr. Juwayriyah. You know what's her name before? No, right. Juwayriyah, that's being given to her name. It's being given to her. Her name was Barra. So Juwayriyah bintu Khuza'a. Juwayriyah, she was, radiallahu anha, she was captured and she was a slave. And then she's being given by the commander of the battle to some families to be slave for them. And then she wanted to set herself free. So she made a deal with her master how much do you need from me to set myself free? So they made a deal, which is called mukataba, khalas, written, that's a deal. So she started collecting money to set herself free. Like, if you remember one of those companions as well, set himself, Salman Farisi. He wanted to set himself free from the Jewish master. So she went to the Prophet ﷺ. She knocked on the door. She needs help. Aisha comes. She opens the door. She sees her. So she asks, I want to see the Prophet of Allah. So she said, I knew it. The Prophet of Allah is going to see the beauty of hers. She's Maratul Mullah. She's nice. So the Prophet said, we call. She said, Messenger of Allah, I want you to help me from the zakah money so that I can set myself free. Because she is now the, by the way, Al-Harith ibn al-Khuzai is her father. And Al-Harith was the head of the tribe whom the Prophet of Allah invaded. Okay? So, radiallahu anha wa ardaha, she said to the Prophet ﷺ, I want help. He said, I do better than that. How about if I marry you and then I will help you to set yourself free? She accepted straight away. She's not accepted because she's under the pressure. No, she could have asked for other people to give money. She wanted to be the wife of the Prophet of Allah. So she married to the Prophet ﷺ, and she was straight away free because she became the mother of the believer. And not only that, radiallahu anha Aisha, whom she's supposed to be jealous, but she was not jealous as jealous of some of the women that would try to kill their husband because they want to marry somebody else. But their jealousy is that she said, MashaAllah, Juwayriyah, her barakah is a lot. What happened? Anybody like to tell me that barakah? That all her relatives who were slaverized, they were set free. It was all the companions when they saw that this, she becomes the mother of the believer. So she's got a cousin, slaverized, set free. They can't make slave somebody related to the mother of the believers. All of those hundreds were set free because of Juwayriyah radiallahu anha. So in this instance, so there's no one killed. Even the men, they were not killed. They were slaverized. There was no killing. Third one, and also Abu al-As ibn Rabi'a. He, Abu al-As as well, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam set him free because he was the husband of his daughter. And he embraced Islam, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before that, he had set him free. And whatever you set free, we accept that as well. And as for Thumam ibn Athal, this is a person who was a chief in his tribe. Thumama, he was brought to the masjid, tied up in the masjid. He was captured, tied up in the masjid. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he comes to him, he says to him, Ha Thumama, what do you think? Shall you embrace Islam? He said, if you set me free, listen, he thinks somebody's been captured, okay, and somebody who's under the thumb. I don't think he's in a position to bargain. He said, if you set me free, okay, then I will. If you kill me, If you kill me, he's threatening. If you kill me, I'm a person who's got blood. My family will seek revenge. If you set me free, then I will honor this favor for you, and I will guarantee I will not harm you. You're not in a position. You are under the capture. You need to make a better deal than this. Isn't it better deal than this, Ya Thumama? And he left him. Following day, same thing. And he's still in the masjid, watching the prayers, watching the masjid, watching the people. Third day, the same thing. Then the Prophet ﷺ, the third time, he said, Idhab ya Thumama, you are free. Khalas. Nothing. We don't want anything from him. Straight away, he goes out, makes ghusl, makes wudu, and comes back and he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul. And he says to the Prophet, I was on my way to make Umrah, by the way, Messenger of Allah. Umrah with the Mushrikeen now. There's going to be Umrah of the what? With the Muslimin. So I was on my way to make Umrah when your men captured me. So I want to go to make the Umrah. So the Prophet, yes, prompted him for that. And he went. When he went there, the news of him embracing Islam had reached the people of Quraysh. So they came to him, the chief of Quraysh, and they said to him, we've heard that you have sabat. He said, no, I've become Muslim. So they started threatening him. He said, verily, there will be no even one seed of Yamama is going to come. We're going to make a blockade on you because it is to export to them from Yamama. There's like seeds for them. There will be nothing going to reach you from that until the Prophet ﷺ allowed him to do so. This person and embrace Islam because of what? Because of the manners of the Prophet ﷺ. Prophet of Allah set him free. That's Thumama. As the captives of Badr, I told you, Prophet ﷺ took the opinion of Abu Bakr. And the Prophet ﷺ also, he had exchanged 2 men of his companions with 1 man of the Mushrikeen from Bani Aqil. He gave them the Bani Aqil Mushrik, and he took 2 men from his companions. Now, Allah what he said.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, فَإِذَا لَقِيتُمُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ حَتَّى إِذَا أَثْقَنْتُمُوهُمْ فَشُدُّوا الْوَثَاقَ فَإِمَّا مِنْ بَعْدُ وَإِمَّا فِدَاءً حَتَّى تَضْعَ الْحَرْبُ أَوْزَارَهَا. So when you meet in fighting those who disbelieve, smite at their necks till when you have killed them and wounded many of them, then bind a bond firmly on them, meaning take them as captives. Thereafter is the time either for generosity, meaning free them without ransom, or ransom them according to what benefits Islam, until the war lays down its burden.
As-Salab, which means?
The Salab, the Prophet ﷺ said, if a person kills an opponent in battle, for him is his Salab. The Salab refers to what the enemy has on his body at the time of being killed, including his clothing, jewelry, weaponry, and even his mount if he was killed while riding one.
Right. So this is an encouragement for the people who fight in the battle, that whoever had killed somebody from the enemies, that whatever is caught on him belongs to this person, like a war booty special to him. But this is on the condition that the commander says yes. So if he said, for example, the commander no, because maybe the Muslims are fighting ones whom the equipments of the enemies are very, very dear, expensive, so they've got this most of latest technology, for example. So if it is the case, he might say no, it has to go to the House of Treasury and to be divided, not to be taken for a person. Because we're talking about some artilleries that the soldier can hold is up to £100,000, So £100,000 cannot be something that for the soldier, and the soldiers will be fighting for money. So each one, he will take our point for that one. He's got too much artillery with him. So it depends upon the commander. When we're always talking now something which is if there is a Muslim country and they are fighting a non-Muslim, in the case of the war code is being presented here. Now we come into the spoils. Now,
the war booty. The war booty is distributed after the seller. 4/5 of the war booty goes to those who took part in the battle. The foot soldier receives 1 share, while the horseman receives 3 shares.
Okay, so you see that? So the one on foot, he will take 1 share. And the one who's in cavalry got 3 shares. Why? We'll see that in God.
Allah has said, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. And know that whatever of war booty that you may gain, verily 1/5 of it is assigned to Allah and to the Messenger and to the near relatives of the Messenger, and also the orphans, the poor, and the wayfarer. Ibn Umar said, I saw the war booty divided into 5 parts and then distributed via their shares. What was given to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he was free to decide how to divide it. He also said, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ distributed the shares on the day of Khaybar, the horseman receiving 3 shares, for the horse 2 shares, and for the soldier 1 share.
You see, the horseman, because the horse could be belonging to somebody else. The horse could be belonging to somebody else. It's being given to that person who was the fighter. So there will be 1 share for him, 2 shares, 1 for the horse, and 1 for the owner of the horse. Okay, so that's what 3 shares. Right. Abbas says.
Ibn Abbas said, the Prophet ﷺ gave 3 shares to the horseman and 2 shares to the footman. The shares are only apportioned to those who meet 5 requirements.
Islam.
Being a Muslim,
adult,
sane, free, and male.
Has to be male.
If any of these conditions is not met, then the person is given a small portion, but he's not given a full share, as the jihad is not obligatory on him or her.
If one of these is not there, the commander will decide how much will give him, but it will not be a share. Right, so 1/5 goes to Allah and His Messenger, and this 1/5 of the Prophet of Allah, he is entitled to give it to sovereigns. He gives it as well to the orphans, he gives it to the poor people, he gives it, okay? So 1/5 of it. The 4/5 will be divided between the people who are fighters. Now,
Umayr, the ex-slave of Abi Lahm, said, I participated with my masters on the day of Khaybar while I was a slave. I was not given booty, but I was given some household items. I would carry a sword, dragging it on the ground due to its weight.
right, so it's being given a portion of that, okay, share. It's not full share. Now,
Ibn Abbas said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will go to war having women with him to attend to the injured. He gave them some amount from the war booty, but he will not apportion for them actual shares.
this is the justice, because the person who's fighting is different from the person who's behind the line, protected and just, attending those people who are wounded. You understand me? So that's fair. Fine. Now we come to the 5th that is being taken. Where does it go now?
The distribution of al-khumus. Al-khumus, which is the 1/5 share out of the war booty, al-khumus remaining is to be distributed as 5 shares. 1 share for the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which after his time is to be used for the public interest.
So the 5th will be divided into what? 5. So the war booty, 4/5 go to the mujahideen. 1/5 goes to Allah and His Messenger. This 5th will be divided as well to 5 shares. Imagine that. 1/5 of the 5th goes to the Prophet of Allah, and he will decide what to give it. And the other ones?
1 share for his relatives, which are the tribes of Hashim and Muttalib. 1 share for the orphans, 1 share for the poor, and 1 share for the travelers. So
we got now, these are the 5th of the booty will be divided into 5 shares. 1 to the Prophet, 1 to his relatives, which are Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib, only Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib, not Banu Abdul Manaf. Because Banu Hashim and Muttalib, they were the only 2 tribes who were together and united. Even Banu Muttalib were kuffar, but united during the siege, when they were in the Shi'b of Abu Talib, only 2. That's why the Prophet said Banu Muttalib is from us. Whereas Abdul Manaf, the ones who are different, they did not go. Banu Abdul Shams, no, it's not from them. Banu Nawfal, it's not from them. Banu Hashim, Banu Muttalib. So 1/5 of the 5th to the Prophet, another 5th to the relatives of the Prophet from Banu Hashim and Muttalib, and 1/5 of the 5th to the orphans, and 1/5 of the 5th to the poor, and 1/5 of the 5th to the wayfarers. Okay? And by the way, this is the 5th. You've heard about the 5th, which is being taken by the Rafidah from the Shia. SubhanAllah. I feel pity for those normal laymen from the Shia whom they're being robbed by these mu'ammamin, the ones who got turbans. They put the turban, for the sake of the money. The fifth is millions. They collect millions from those poor people, and they build their houses. And they're supposed to, this 5th, they're going to give it to the what? They're supposed to give it to the poor. They don't give anything. So that 5th, we don't believe in it. So that 5th, we don't believe in it, because they're taking it from the people's work, not from the war booty. You understand me? Just like zakat. So you've got zakat, which is 2.5%, and you've got zakat, which is 20%. 2.5% and plus what? 20, because 1/5 is 20%. Okay, so that is it's not correct. Now, قال الله تعالى,
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, and know that whatever of war booty that you may gain, verily 1/5 of it is assigned to Allah, and to the Messenger, and to the near relatives of the Messenger, and also the orphans, the poor, and the wayfarer.
We've done this before. Okay, al-fay now.
The fay. As a legal term, this refers to everything that is taken from the disbelievers without any fighting.
By the way, if you want to read about fay and all of that, is in Surah Al-Anfal. Surah Al-Anfal has got all of that. That fay, yes. So it's been taken from where? Sorry?
This refers to everything that is taken from the disbelievers without any fighting.
So you're taking it from without fighting. But in Arabic, what does it say in Arabic? The fate is in the definition of the Arabic, the beginning. Does it say that?
No.
In Arabic, from fa'a idha raja'a, comes back to you. So in the religious terminology, it is what has been taken from the disbelievers without a fight. Why? Because they left this money because they were scared and they left the money. Okay, or is it the tribute they pay when they live in a Muslim country, like the Muslim pay zakah, they pay al-jizya, okay, al-kharaj, the tax on the land that they pay. and also the money that some of them, they die and they don't have an inheritor to take it. Okay, so they don't have an inheritor from their own people, from the Christian or Jews or whatever religion they have, then it will go back to the faith, al-faith. Now, this is called al-faith. And this goes to the house of the treasury. Fadlan.
Such as the wealth that they leave behind out of fear from the Muslims, the jizya, the land tax, wealth left behind by a non-Muslim citizen.
The jizya and the what? The land?
The land tax.
The land tax and?
Wealth left behind by a non-Muslim citizen who has no legal heirs.
Legal heirs, inheritors. Now we go to Aqd al-Dhimma.
The Dhimma Pact. Dhimma means a pact, security and protection. The Dhimma Pact is where a ruler or his representative accepts for the people of the book or other disbelievers to remain in their disbelief while adhering to the two following conditions.
Number one?
Number one, they will pay the jizya, and number two, they will adhere to the laws of Islam in general.
That means they cannot, for example, break their fast in Ramadan in front of everybody. They cannot just bring a sandwich and start eating it in front of the Muslim. They could do it in their houses. So they have to abide by the general Islam. So they can't, for example, practice something which Islam deems it to be not allowed. Do you understand me? They cannot practice something which Islam deems it to be not allowed. You know what I'm talking about as well. Yeah. So anything which is not allowed. So they can't, for example, openly drink wine. They can't open, for example, making fornication. They can't all of that. It's not allowed in Islam. Then they can't. So you have to be abiding by the rules of Islam in general. In general, we don't impose upon them to fast. No, we impose upon them not to break their fast openly. We don't impose upon them not to drink. We impose upon them not to drink openly. As for them, we don't impose for them to fetch their drink from somewhere, but we impose upon them they can't buy or sell in a Muslim country. Okay, so that these are rules. Okay, you know what happened in Qatar now. There are rules and Muslim rules, but it's taking place. You come into my house, you have to respect my house. I come to your house, I have to respect your house. Okay, so I come to your house and say to you, brother, take off all your pots which you have used to cook pork in it or pigs in it. I can't say that because it's your house. And you have to come to my house, get rid of this scarf of yours and what is this you're doing? You come to my house, I respect my, and I respect your, instructions and your traditions. That's how we live with each other. Otherwise we can't. But to start to show me that something that which is not respectful, I don't think that is from the manners, even the manners of those who are just disbelievers. They don't really believe in that. They believe this is not correct. To impose somebody's tradition onto you. The West to adopt the East, or the East to adopt the West by force. Why did you now?
The basis for this pact is in the words of Allah. قاتلوا الذين لا يؤمنون بالله ولا باليوم الآخر ولا يحرمون ما حرم الله ورسوله ولا يدينون دين الحق من الذين أوتوا الكتاب حتى يعطوا الجزية عن يد وهم صاغرون. Fight against those who believe not in Allah, nor in the last day, nor forbid what has been forbidden by Allah and His Messenger. And those who acknowledge not the religion of truth among the people of the scripture, meaning the Jews and the Christians, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. Right.
Basically, we believe that the people who pay the jizya, not just the Christian and the Jews, any non-Muslim, so whether they're free fire worshippers, Freemasons, all of that is included as well. Now,
the obligations of this pact. If the Dhimma Pact is concluded, it means that it is forbidden to fight them. Their wealth must be protected and their honor is to be respected. Their freedom is guaranteed and they are not to be harmed. The Prophet ﷺ said, when you meet your enemies who are polytheists, invite them to 3 courses of action. If they respond to any of these, accept it and refrain from fighting them.
First one.
Invite them to accept Islam.
That's number 1.
If they respond to you, accept it from them and desist from fighting against them. Then invite them to migrate from their lands to the land of the immigrants in Medina.
This is still the first one.
And inform them that if they do so, they shall have all the privileges and the obligations of the immigrants. If they refuse to migrate, tell them that they will have the status of Bedouin Muslims and will be subjected to the command of Allah that are enforced upon the believers. But they will not get any share from the spoils of war or fate, except when they actually fight with the Muslims. If they refuse to accept Islam, demand from them the jizya.
This is the second one.
If they agree to pay it, accept that from them and refrain from fighting them.
So call them to Islam. If they accept Islam, then 1, 2, 3, they tell them to migrate. If they don't migrate, then basically they will not be having any share of the war booty unless they fight themselves. They migrate, it's got the same thing. And if they don't resist Islam, okay, you want to stay on your religion, no problem. We will have to pay the tribute, the jizya, tax like we pay the zakat. Third one?
It stops there.
The third one is to fight them. Okay, so either this or that, or to fight them. Right.
The laws that the non-Muslim citizens must abide by.
No.
The laws of Islam are applied to the non-Muslim citizens with respect to the rights of humans, that is, with respect to contracts and dealings, compensation for injuries and damages, and fixed prescribed punishments. Anas narrated, a Jew crushed the head of a slave girl between 2 rocks. As she was dying, she was asked, who did this to you? Was it so-and-so? They kept stating different names until they came to the name of the Jew, and she motioned with her head. The Jew was brought and he confessed to the act. The Prophet ﷺ commanded that his head be crushed between 2 stones. Ibn Umar said, the Prophet ﷺ was brought 2 Jews who had committed adultery after being non-virgins, and he had them both stoned.
So the Islamic rules will run onto those people who are living in the Islamic State now.
When is the pact violated and negated? If any one of the dhimmis refuse to pay the jizya or abide by the laws of Islam, he has violated his pact, as he is not fulfilling the conditions of the pact. Similarly, committing acts of aggression against a Muslim or cursing Allah and his messenger will also negate the pact.
Because you are directly going to the most important thing. How can you just insult Allah openly or the messenger of Allah? Umar Khattab.
It is narrated that a man was brought to Umar who had tried to coerce a Muslim woman into committing zina with him. Umar said, it is not upon this that we have made an agreement with you. He then ordered that he be crucified in Jerusalem.
This is a person who wants to what? Rape a woman. Okay, a person who wants to rape a woman. So the Umar Khattab said, this is what happened. This is not the agreement that we agreed upon. So he's being crucified as to be showing that he cannot do such a thing. And the penalty of rape, even some of the countries like America, is severe, by the way. It's not like rape is rape. Now, Fadl.
Ali radiallahu anhu said, a Jewish woman used to curse the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and abuse him. A man strangled her until she died, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam denied any blood money for her.
Actually, there was a Muslim woman, she did this, and the man, if you remember, he put his stick on her because she was insulting the Prophet of Allah. He told her off so many times, and then she was killed. And then the matter was raised to the Prophet, and the Prophet of Allah asked, who is the one who had killed her? So this man came from the back with a stick. He said, Messenger of Allah, it's me. What's the story? He said, well, Prophet of Allah, she kept insulting me, and I told her off many times, and then what I did, I put it down, I put the stick on top of her belly, and she died. She was killed. So the Prophet of Allah, he had basically released him, or you could say exonerated, what do you call it? Exile. No, exile. No. He had actually abolished any punishment to him. So he pardoned him, yeah, maybe he's pardoned him. I wouldn't say pardoned him, but he said that her blood is lawful. Her blood is lawful. Her blood is lawful. So it's not just because of Jewish. Any person insult the Prophet, straight away death penalty takes upon him. That's an Islamic state, of course. Now,
the ramifications of negating the pact. If the Dhimma pact is negated, then the ruling concerning those that violated the pact is that they become like prisoners of war. If they accept Islam, it is forbidden to kill them. If they do not embrace Islam, the Muslim ruler has a choice between having them killed, releasing them freely, or ransoming them, as mentioned in the section on prisoners of war.
Right. Now,
from whom is the jizya to be taken?
So now, look at the Islam now, how justice. We don't take jizya from anybody. Go ahead.
Nafi' narrated from Aslam that Umar radiallahu anhu wrote to his military commanders, Do not levy the jizya upon women and children.
Subhanallah. No jizya upon women and children. Go on.
And do not levy it except upon those who have the means.
The means. He has got. So if he's got, even if he's a man, but he hasn't got the means, he's a financially skinned. He lives in this. He's homeless. I don't think, jizya from him. Go ahead.
The amount of the jizya. Mu'adh said that when the Prophet ﷺ sent him to Yemen, he told him to take from every adult male 1 dinar, or its equivalent in a type of Yemeni garment. It is permissible to increase this amount based on the report of Aslam, who said, Umar ibn al-Khattab set the jizya from the people who deal in gold at 4 dinars.
So instead of 1 dinar, it was 4 dinars.
Those who deal in silver at 40 dirhams, while at the same time obliging them to supply food and hospitality for 3 days to the Muslims.
This is yearly, by the way. Okay, yearly. Now, go ahead.
Actually, the Muslim leader should take into consideration the level of ease or hardship of the people. Ibn Abi Najih said, I said to Mujahid, why is it that the people of Asham pay 4 dinars, while those of Yemen only pay 1 dinar? He said, it has to do with how well off they are.
That means the people of Sham expect very rich, pay 4 dinar. The ones who are in Yemen, poor, 1 dinar. Okay, alhamdulillah, we'll finish the chapter of jihad. Now, I'll go to the chapter, inshallah, for next week, and that is chapter of what?
Emancipating slaves.
Do you have any other chapter after that in your book? This is the last chapter. So it's going to be finished, inshallah. Can we just do it now? Can we finish the book, ya Habibi? Or can we just question and answer? Just finish it. Let's finish it. It's only 2 pages. Yeah, quickly.
Chapter 17, Emancipating Slaves.
Yeah.
Emancipation means to remove the state of being owned. Encouragement to emancipate slaves and its merits. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, فَلَقَتَحْنَا الْعَقَبَةِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةِ فَكُّ رَقَبَةٍ. But ye have made no effort to pass on the path that is steep. And what will make you know the path that is steep? It is freeing a neck, meaning a slave.
Freeing a slave is being prompted by this ayat, is encouraged. Slave is in Islam, it's still holding on. It's not being abrogated. No, because as long as there is war, there's slavery to protect the prisoners of war. And when you have the slaves, Allah Azza wa Jal, also the Prophet ﷺ, they have said to us to encourage us to what? Set slaves free. And one of the categories of paying zakat is to set slaves free. How? Either you have a slave and set him free, it's like a zakat, because a slave is a property, or you help a person who is, for example, he made mukataba, like a deal with his master, and you set him free. So you basically give money to a slave to set this person free. It's the second way. Or the third one, to purchase a slave and set him free. So you've got 3 ways of zakat and slaves. Either you got a slave yourself, set him free. Or somebody who's with his master, he's made a deal, how much he was. He said, you have to pay me, for example, £1,000. £1,000. So you are helping the slave to set himself free from that master by giving him part of the money or all of the money. That's as well, goes to the zakat. Third one, to purchase a slave and set him free. 3 ways of setting free the slaves. Abu Hurairah
narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, any man who emancipates a Muslim will have Allah rescue each limb of his from the hellfire due to every limb of he whom he had emancipated.
This hadith being said, Abu Hurairah, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said it in front of Mu'adh ibn Sufyan, radiallahu anhu, and at the time of his khilafah. So he said, قال النبي Prophet ﷺ said, أيما رجل أعتق امرأ مسلما, any person who set free a Muslim slave, set it free, Allah Azza wa Jal, He will save for each limb of that slave will be set free, the limb of the master who set him free. So if he's got complete hands and eyes and everything from you will be set free from the hellfire. Okay, so don't set free somebody who's got no one eye or 1 leg, full complete. So I said, is that what you heard? He said, yes. So he called from one, it's called Mutarrif. 5 by 5, mashallah, huge. Slave, come, mashallah. So you guarantee paradise. Mashallah, arm like this and arm. He said, you are free for the sake of Allah. He's making sure that all his limbs will be set free. Now, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari.
Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, 3 will be given their reward twice.
Who are they?
A man from the people of the book who believed in his prophets, and then found out about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and believed in him.
Like a Christian or a Jewish or whatever. He believes in Musa, he believes in Isa, and he came to the Prophet of Allah and he believed in the Prophet and followed him.
Believed in him, followed him, and attested to him. For
So
him,
he will have 2 rewards because he believed in his Prophet and he believed in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another one?
an own slave who fulfills the right of Allah and the right of his owner. For him, there are rewards twice.
So he's giving the rights of his Allah by worship and giving the rights of his master by looking after him and not running away from him and not making it difficult for him. And the third one?
A man who had a female slave and fed her well and taught her well, and then freed her and married her. For him, there are rewards twice.
Okay, nice. So that's a reward twice as well. Okay, this is the third category. Now we come to, go on.
What is the best slave to free?
Yeah.
Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu said, I asked the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what is the best deed? He replied, belief in Allah and jihad for his sake. I then asked, what is the best slave? He replied, the one with the highest price and who is dearest to his owners.
So the one who is, mashallah, can help and big. And this is the most expensive, the most precious slave to be set free. طيب, متى تستحب العتاقة?
When is it preferred to free slaves?
When? Asma?
Asma bint Abi Bakr radiallahu anha said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ordered the freeing of slaves during an eclipse.
So an eclipse, Prophet made a bit. So if you have an eclipse and you have a slave, set him free. I know that you haven't got slaves, but I'm just saying this is what the saying at the best of times. Now, reason for slavery.
Causes for emancipation. Emancipation can be via the owner voluntarily freeing the slave out of a desire to please Allah, driven by the aforementioned hadith that points to the virtues of such an act. Emancipation can also occur through ownership. That is, if anyone comes into possession of a relative within the prohibited degrees of marriage, that slave becomes free.
Okay, let me just explain this. Emancipation means setting a slave free. Emancipation. Okay. Emancipation, he says that it happens by the owner freeing the slave for the sake of Allah. He's setting him free. Okay. Second type is that this person comes under his possession a slave whom he's not allowed to make marriage for. For example, his auntie. Let's say she was of the enemy and she was from the disbelievers. And she fell into his hand, his mother, his maternal aunt, maternal, his father automatically becomes what? Free. Because you can't slaverize your father, nor your mother, your now.
Samurah ibn Jundub narrated that the Prophet sallallahu said, if anyone owns a relative within the prohibited degrees of marriage, he is free. A slave can be emancipated if part of his ownership is free. In other words, if a slave is co-owned by partners and one of them frees his shares and he is a person of means, then the remaining value of the slave is to be estimated and he should give that money to his partners and free the slave completely.
So if part of the slave is to be set free, then he must be set free. So let's just say me and Ismail, we own somebody who's a slave. Okay? So he is rich and I'm poor. He said, I don't want this slave. I want to set my part from this slave to be free. So the other part is slaverized to me, and no, it cannot be slaverized to me now. So whatever that part, how much it is, cost in the market, okay, then he gives it to me, or I set him free for the sake of Allah. But he has to be set free, because part of him is what? Free. So he can't walk, part of him is free, part of him is slaverized. So he has to be set free. So if one of them has set him free, the other one, he has to set him free either for the sake of Allah, or take whatever, how much it costs. Now,
Abdullah ibn Umar narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, whoever emancipates his share in a slave and he has the money for the rest of the price of the slave should be fairly evaluated and he should give his partners their share and free the slave completely. Otherwise, he has freed only the portion he has freed.
but
If the emancipator does not have the means to free the slave completely, he has only freed the portion he freed. However, the slave should then try to work to pay off the remainder of his freedom. so that the owners may receive his complete value. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever frees his portion of a slave should free the slave completely by paying the rest of his price if he has the means to do so. Otherwise, the value of the slave is to be estimated, and he should be helped to work without hardship to pay the rest of his value.
Alhamdulillah, tadbir.
Freeing a slave upon one's death.
Upon one's death, how the slave can be free. Fadl.
A slave can be freed upon one's death by being told, if I die, you are free after my death.
Khalas, he will be free. Now,
in such a case, when the person dies, the slave will become free as long as the value of the slave is less than 1/3 of the deceased's property.
now,
Imran ibn Hussein said, a man died while having 6 slaves and no other wealth.
please listen to this story. He's got 6. Now, and he's got no other wealth.
A man died while having 6 slaves and no other wealth, and he had freed them upon his death. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam divided them into 3 groups and drew lots between them, freeing 2 of them and keeping 4 of them as slaves. He then had harsh words for what the deceased had done.
Do you understand that? The deceased, he set his slaves, the 6 of them free, and he had children. Those children, the story says, they came to the Prophet of Allah. He said, our father set his 6 slaves free. This is the only prophet they've got. It's like he's given all his wealth. Prophet of Allah, he was really, annoyed by doing this. How can you do that? You leave your heirs in need. He set them free when he was about to die, in his death. So that becomes from his, you could say, we call it atiyah when you are about to die. And this has to be within the 3rd. If he's given it when he was healthy and wealthy, no problem to give all his money because his money is renewed, like Abu Bakr gave all his money. But to give it when you're about to die, this becomes not the hadiyah. It becomes called atiyah. Atiyah has to be within the 3rd. So the Prophet so annoyed, even he sold them, he returned them back. This sale is not correct. So 6, he drew them, he made them 2, 2, 2, divided them 2, 2, 2. And then he drew lots between them and he set 2 of those. So he took a lot, like an arrow. Oh, this one belongs to these 2 free. Because 2 over 6 is what? 3rd. Do you understand me? 2 over 6 is a 3rd. So he set the 2 and returned the 4 in the custody of whom? Of the heirs of the deceased. Because it's their property, their money. Now.
It is valid to sell or give away a slave who was declared free upon one's death. Jabir ibn Abdullah said, the Prophet ﷺ found out about a man from his companions who had declared the setting free of a slave upon his death. However, the man had no other wealth other than that. But before the man's death, the Prophet ﷺ sold him for 800 dirhams and sent that money to him, meaning the owner.
So it is saying, Ismail is my slave, sorry. You are my slave. And I said, upon my death, he's free. Abdullah, say no, my brother. Abdullah, he said, okay, I want to buy it from you. I said, okay, how much? Okay, is £1,000. So he gives me £1,000. He's still my slave. But once I die, he belongs to the new master because he already bought him from me. So he bought him before I die and still in my custody. And this is an exemption, should say, from the selling something which you don't own. I own him, but I'm not going to give it to you. It's like I've got a car. How much is the car? Oh, I want that car, brother. Okay, but I will not. You could have it from me as long as I just go to such an XY country with it, and then it's yours. That can take place for the Prophet ﷺ. He also did this with Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu. Okay, Jabir ibn Abdullah, the same thing. He said he had bought from him that camel from the Prophet. He bought it from Jabir. But Jabir, he made a condition. Okay, Messenger, I'll give it to you as long as we just reach the Medina, because I'm on top of it. Once I reach the Medina, then you could have it. Now, further.
Making an agreement to work for one's freedom. Al-Kitaba is a contract whereby the slave is given his freedom in exchange for some agreed upon remuneration. Its ruling. If the slave asks his owner for such a contract, it is obligatory upon his owner to respond positively to his request.
So if the slave said to his owner, I want to make a deal with you, I want to set myself free, he has to accept it. Now,
if he knows that the slave has the means to earn his freedom.
that means he's got work, he's got other family to help him. But if he said, I want to set myself free, and he's, he has to pay what, for example, 5,000. And he's financially skinned and he can't even hardly work. I can't make a deal with you. I have to make a deal with you and you are what? Able to pay back the 5,000 pounds. Now,
Allah has said, وَالَّذِينَ يَبْتَغُونَ الْكِتَابَ مِمَّا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ فَكَاتِبُوهُمْ إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا.
did you أيمانكم or أيمانكم? With a noon number, yeah? أيمانكم. Yeah.
And such of your slaves as seek a writing of emancipation, give them such writing, if you know that they are good and trustworthy.
We are about to finish. Brother.
Musa ibn Anas said, Sirin asked Anas for a contract for freedom, and he owns a lot of wealth. But Anas refused. He went to Umar, who told him, write the contract for him.
That's it. You have to do it.
He again refused. Umar beat him with his stick and read the verse, give them such writing if you know that they are good and trustworthy.
So he had what? Accepted the writing. Now, when does he set him free?
When does he become free? When the slave fulfills the conditions of the contract, or when the owner releases him from its obligation, he becomes free. Otherwise, he remains a slave until he fully satisfies the contract. Amr ibn Shu'ayb narrated from his father on the authority of his grandfather that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, the slave who has been contracted to pay for his freedom remains a slave as long as even a dirham is left according to his contract.
Go ahead. Now we're going to sell the contract. Now,
selling a slave who has contracted to work for his freedom. It is valid to sell such a slave if he accepts the slave. Amra bint Abdul Rahman said, Barira went to Aisha, the mother of the believers, to seek her help in being free. Aisha said to her, if your people want the remainder of the price all at once and I free you, I shall do so. Barira mentioned that to her people, and they said, no, unless the relationship of wala, clientage, is for us. Malik said that Yahya said, Amra then said that Aisha mentioned that to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, buy her and set her free, as the relationship of wala is only to the one doing the freeing.
What is wala?
Al-wala establishes the right of inheritance for the one who does the manumitting from the one who has been manumitted. However, as noted earlier, the one having the relationship of wala only inherits if the freed slave does not have any male relatives to inherit from him. It is not allowed to sell the right of wala, nor can one give it away as a gift. Ibn Umar said, the Prophet ﷺ forbade the selling or the gifting of al-wala.
Okay, let me just explain this. Let's say that Ismail, again, is my slave. If I set him free, his wala is for me. What does that mean? That means if, for example, this Ismail goes and marries, makes a fortune, and if he does not have a male inheritor, I will inherit. So let's say, for example, I set him free, or he was a slave with Abdullah and I paid Abdullah the money for Ismail and I set Ismail free. Still the wala is for me. So if, for example, Ismail, mashallah, goes and make a fortune after he's free and he becomes like a Bill Gates, billionaire, and then he gets married and he has only the wife, no children. He has no father, no mother, no relatives, except for the wife of his. So he died. How much is the share of the wife of Ismail, and how much is the share of me, the one I'm setting free? Whether I set him free because he's my slave, or I purchase him from somebody else and I set him free. How much can anybody tell? Yeah. Half. Huh?
Zero.
What, I got nothing? Yeah, in the country, yeah, they got nothing. Of course,
Wife gets third, you get.
go to Islamic, yeah. Wife, you take one. Anybody from the online? Let's just see. The online. Online, yalla. Yalla, habibi, yalla. We finished the book, by the way.
How much the normal one?
Look at this. Online. I am the one who set him free, and he got married. No children, he had no father, no mother, no relatives. So how much is his wife will take and I will take? Yes?
150.
Who?
My wife will get 150.
And I'll get the rest. More. Five. Anybody else? Anish, yalla Anish.
Wife will get 180.
Yalla Anish.
Assalamu alaikum.
I can't, hang on. Say that again, because I couldn't hear you. Again.
Sorry, it's a bit of a noise. The wife will inherit his share, which is due for her, and the rest will go towards this.
How much is her share?
Oh, subhanallah. 3/4, I think it was, or 1/6. Can't remember now at the moment.
No, you have to remember. What's the point? Yalla, ya Ahmed. Ahmed was looking at his notes.
I didn't look, Sheikh, but I remember that she gets a quarter.
She gets a quarter, his wife, and I get the rest 3/4, believe it or not. Yes, so it's good to sleep with a slave, and the slave becomes a rich man. And he has no relatives if he had a son, I got 0. If he had a cousin male from I get 0, nothing. As long as he hasn't got males. If got females, still inherit. So if he had a daughter, no wife, just a daughter, his wife died, and he had a daughter, she inherits a half, and I would inherit a half. Just like his daughter. If his 2 daughters got 2/3 of the daughters, that's 1/3 each, and I will get 1/3. The rest, the remaining. So I get like one of them as well.
This day and age, don't keep it a secret, I won't tell you.
طيب. Now, alhamdulillah, we have finished the book of Al-Wajeez. تم بحمد الله شرح كتاب الوجيز. And inshallah, we're going to have a discussion of what we're going to be starting. But for the time being, I'm really relaxed. We finished the book. Alhamdulillah, that we've done this, by the way, with, I think, with the brothers in Brixton only, or it was Fiqh Sunnah before. Alhamdulillah. طيب, any questions, Ikhwani? Tfaddal ya. And I'm sorry to keep you waiting, because it was my fault. I didn't know it was today that I'm supposed to be here. That wasn't the case. Now,
Yeah, the Delhi outside of Arabia, was there any restrictions on them building new churches and synagogues and maintaining the churches and synagogues?
in where? Sir?
Outside of Arabia, the Delhi. So like in Jerusalem, places like that, were there restrictions?
So is there any restrictions of the non-Muslim to build temples in the Muslim land?
Yeah, but
They're not allowed. It's not allowed in the Muslim land, according to Islamic law, to build anything which is if it's been built, khalas, it's been there. It will be staying there. But to renewally build no, it's not allowed. You could worship inside your house, no problem, Muslim state. But to build something openly like this in the Islamic state is not allowed, because
even when it was in like Jerusalem, so they couldn't build.
you can't build anything. It's a Muslim land.
What about maintaining the church? Could they maintain
No problem. The church, if it's been built, maintaining the church and all of that, and the Christian, they can do that, maintain it and do whatever. This is a house of ibadah. We don't close it. It's theirs. Not new ones, no. Pardon.
If the dhimmi breaks his pact, then he's treated like a prisoner of war. Can he become a slave, or?
And if the dhimmi, if a person, for example, did not pay the tribute, or he broke the Islamic law, does he become a prisoner of war? No, he will be punished, but he will not become a prisoner of war, so to wear as be a slave. No. Further.
Sheikh, visiting the Haram, Makkah.
Visiting the Haram.
Obviously, the prayers will be behind the Imam.
Okay, prayer behind the Imam.
What about the rest? If the visit is short, if the visit is short, like
The what? The visit is short. Your visit is short today.
2
Yeah.
or 3 days.
Mhm.
So will the traveling rules be applied or not?
If your person goes to the Umrah, regardless of he stays 4 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he's still a traveler. And he goes from one hotel to another, he never feels himself settled. Best opinion is that you pray the traveler. The best opinion. But there's a lot of differences. Some of them 63 days, some of them is 4 days, some of them, as long as you don't really decide to be staying, you are a traveler. Okay? Wallahu a'lam. But if you pray behind the Imam, you have to pray like the Imam. No. Further.
You said about the you're not allowed to eat in front of the non, when you put a month of Ramadan,
Yeah.
the non-Muslim not allowed. What about the Muslim? You see
The Muslim is not allowed as well to break his fast openly. In the street, is not allowed, even if he's a traveler. He has to, can't break his openly in the street to show like this. This is not correct. Okay? When it says openly, but if, for example, let's say it's a lecture, and everybody knows that this da'iyah is coming from abroad, okay, and he wants to eat, I would advise him not to eat in front of anybody, but this is not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the street where nobody knows what he is. But if you are in a place where he's known to be traveling from another place and he's allowed to break his fast, I still advise him not to do that, because there are children there. There are people that don't understand. Maybe there are newcomers to the deen who don't understand. And why should you? Just behind the door and do it. And break the fast. And you can just say after that, by the way, the travels are allowed to have this, but to do it like this, and to bring a fish and chips in front of you while you are delivering Ramadan, like one of the da'i had done, that's not correct, Ikhwan. That is not, it is not needed. And always the person should be keen not to make people stop talking about him. Why do you want to open this door? So whether it's Muslim or non-Muslim, we're not supposed to break the laws of Islam openly. Okay? We're not supposed to do that. So the time of the prayer, for example, that's why the time when Saudi Arabia a long time ago, nobody's supposed to be seen except either in the masjid or praying in the house. So if you got a shop, you have to close the shop. And I remember, wallahi, I was fixing our bus in a place where it is like a garage. It's a big garage. And when the time of the prayer came, subhanAllah, they were like mice, rats hiding. Those whoever workers, they're not Saudi Arabian. Why are they sitting there? So we can't go out because we will be taken to prison. Either we have to do the masjid or to lock the shop. So we can't, they didn't even touch the bus during that time. Okay, until the time is finished. So they're not supposed to do work and open during the time of the prayer. And this is an Islamic state. They have to do what they want to do. Now. Oh.
Sheikh, you mentioned that the idea of the deceased.
Atiyah of the deceased before he dies. The idea of the ill. The one who's in fatal illness. That's called atiyah.
Okay.
Not the wasiyah. Wasiyah is the will that is to be taken place after the death.
That was my question. So is that exclusive to? So it's just a slave that applies to where you can pay him off and say upon my death, but I pay him off beforehand. Is that exclusive to a slave, or is that any item?
So the question is from Ali, because people understand that if I'm a person, I own this mobile. I said after my death, this mobile, okay, is yours. No problem. No problem to do that. It's yours. My mobile is yours after my death. As long as this person is not one of my heirs who inherits by the laws of Allah. So he's not my son. Then it becomes no. He takes his share and this will be divided amongst the inheritance. And as long as this mobile is not more than the third of my wealth, it's not 1/3 of my wealth. Otherwise, it will. So if I said after my death, it's to Ismail, it's not related to me. Yeah. And it's less than my wealth, a third, it will be taken by him. That's called a will. The will. As for the atiyah, which is before you die and you are in a fatal, you are in cancer, you die. You can give, but against within the third. Could give against within the third. Now. تفضل يا زهرة.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
When a woman gives birth, there's also the placenta. Does the placenta have to be buried Islamically?
Yeah, to be buried, it's not really, I would say, like we have to have a burial for it. But this is something which is called al-mashima. It's something unpresentable to get rid of it in a way which is suitable. Get rid of it in a way it's suitable. Now, so buried or whatever it is, exterminated in a way which is suitable.
Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah. طيب. Faisal.
Sheikh, the Amin after Al-Fatiha, can the A be elongated like the mean? So for example, mean, is there such a narration?
There is no such narration, but this is a qira'ah, and some of them they say it because it's recitation of warsh. They do that. Okay, they do that 4 counts. Now, Ahmed, there's no Hanan.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, Alhamdulillah, Sheikh.
Salam.
Sheikh, sorry to bother. Would it be possible to speak to you or to ask you a question which is in private, confidential? It's quite urgent that I need to ask you this question. Is that okay? Is there a way to do so?
How much does it cost? Private sessions are very costly.
It's just I just need some advice. Really, I need some advice right now. So I just need to.
As long as it is not to do with marriage and divorce. Because if it is,
it is not divorce.
It's not to do with the marriage and the wife.
Well, I'm not married, so it's probably due to marriage. It is due to with marriage, but I'm not married yet anyway. So
do with marriage, you only have to put that question into writing. Take the number from Ahmed, inshallah. Write it on WhatsApp for me. Yalla, Ahmed.
Jazakallah khairan, Shaykhana al-Kareem. The question is regarding tawarruk. If it's correct that we can have the question is of 2 parts. If you can put the left foot under the right foot, and you can also, number 2, put the left foot on top of the right foot, and also number 3, you can put the left foot.
Well, this question is not very beneficial to anybody. You don't understand what you're talking about. So, we're already seeing what is he talking about? We're lost. So, Ahmed, I would say this private question.
Sorry,
so we start from right, always start from right. But somebody said to me, like, some of the brothers says, don't walk on the left side of the road or on the left side.
Walk on the side which is safe. Do you understand me? Walk on the side which is safe. That's what it is. It's left or right. So if you said on the right, brother, there's no pavement. Doesn't matter. Kill yourself.
Somebody said that to me.
What is he talking about? No. Walk on the side which is safe. And Ahmed, you tell me what you want, inshallah, and then we'll see because these people don't understand what you're talking about. It's feet and foot, and it's going to be too complicated for them. Subhanakallah bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.